That went too far.
Or far enough.
Or just
right.
Just right. Just medium well.
Boo.
This is the Pizza and Hummus podcast.
I'm looking at Spider-Man covered in cheese in my bowl. Get that nutrient in me.
Uh-oh, here we go. Now, uh-oh, here we go. Uh-oh, here we go. Now, uh-oh, here we go.
Boom!
I laughed way too hard at that. That's the worst thing ever. And welcome to the Pizza and Hummus podcast. This is Vince, always with Richie.
All right.
So we had another episode where we talked about things.
Welcome to the podcast. We'll be talking about things today.
Things. What are these things? How did these things get here? Why are these things here?
Had a good morning, good coffee.
Had some good coffee.
Good talking.
New mugs. So yeah, let's just start talking now.
One of those. No, yeah, there's that fight tonight. And people keep asking me, oh man, who do you got for the fight? And I'm like, do you know who you're talking to right now? I don't know, man.
So
That's it.
So, okay.
There's a fight.
No. I know there's a fight, but I kind of want to know because I feel like a lot of weightlifters are into the fights too.
Yeah. Why wouldn't that cross over?
You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's a thing because I know for your tournaments that you did, you were more of a shower. You weren't like, all right, he's gonna lift 500 pounds.
Oh yeah,
you were
bodybuilding
flexing.
versus powerlifting. So bodybuilding is just displaying.
Look at what I've made.
Look what I made for you, Dad.
Yeah. Look at what I've crafted.
Out of
like a nice
mortar.
antique roadster.
This is owned by the Queen previously.
Yes. So there was that. But then there's the other ones that are just like, all right, here's this guy who you're like, that guy's kind of fat. And then he lifts
power
like
lifter.
600 pounds.
Yep.
And you're like, holy crap, the bar is bending.
Yeah.
Super. I don't know.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm supposed to be like, oh yeah, you lift weights. You're part of, so you gotta like the fight. Why? I don't know. I just don't.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that would mesh like muscular guys.
Yeah.
Guys who fight that are also muscular. They're doing things.
It makes sense that
Yeah.
it would. I don't understand for the fights. They never talk about fighting any other time. Like only right now is it an important fight. Why? I mean, I get you could argue, well, they're the two best, and this is the championship.
This is the best.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like is it or
Yeah.
I know
I feel
so
like there's
little
always a
about
new
it.
fight. There's always something.
I never hear about it. Like at least with like football, they'll talk about preseason games and they talk about in-season games and then playoffs. They don't just talk about like the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Like it's all the time. With fighting, I've never hear anything ever until it's like, hey, you want to go spend $100 and order it on pay-per-view because that's apparently still a thing. What's the last thing you ordered on pay-per-view? Anything ever?
Yeah, I don't think even WWE's on pay-per-view
No.
anymore.
I mean, it's got to be.
It's probably because that the people watch it still. Well, what's crazy too is like I try to understand the MMA fighting. I try to understand like it's a skill, it's a craft, it's a discipline. There's an art to it of like the different types of fighting styles. And
Yeah.
There's like everything on paper. I read it and I go, wow, this is actually something that's really interesting and that's like it's a mind body thing. Like it's the best of the best.
I'm all in.
Yeah. And then I watch it and I go, this is just brutal.
Yeah.
Like-
they beating the crap out of each other.
Like it gets real. For some reason, watching like a guy with like a sword cutting off someone's head in like a movie with a dragon flies in, I'm like, this
Easy.
is fiction.
Right.
He'll come back.
Right.
I'll see him in another movie. Like
Yeah.
you'd forget it. But then when you actually see the real people and they're beating the crap out of each other and they're bloody, and I'm like, what separates this from the Colosseums?
It makes it so real. You know what makes it real? Have you ever seen like not necessarily a fight, but like a tussle in public, like real people?
Yeah.
What always makes it real for me is when like there's always a point, like a real fight wherever it is between two people. It's never just like you're sitting there boxing fisticuffs. Nah, say I'm gonna punch you in the jimmies. It's never that. It's always like maybe it's a punch and then they're like grappling each other. They got each other in a chokehold or they're rolling around on the ground. Once it gets to that point, for me, when it gets like, oh, this is kind of real, is when I hear like both of them like breathe really heavy, like they're like it's not going well. Like
Yeah.
And you can tell they're like getting upset. Like when you can tell they're getting upset, I go, I don't want to be here anymore.
you know, I get so used to the comfort of like when you watch television, it's like, okay, this guy comes after you and they do a cool like combo move, and then this guy comes after you, do a cool combo
They
move.
both respect each other with their sword.
Yeah, they're both doing a thing. It could be sword or punches, whatever.
Yeah.
But then in real life, it's just two guys just really trying to grab each other really hard, because if you can grab the other person, then you can like get some punches in and get some fighting in. Like
Yeah.
it's a different dirty style of fighting. And boxing is a little bit like that, you know. There's still a little bit of separation of like you can't be grabbing the person, but
Yeah.
when they start rolling around, there's the breathing, and it's just I'm just like, it doesn't look good.
It looks personal.
It
Like
looks
it's like
like-
who cheated on whose wife?
Yeah.
Like this. That would be funny if like for like UFC, every single event there was like the reason why they're fighting.
There's a
It's
backstory.
never for sport. It's always like he didn't pay his tax deductible, and it's like an accountant versus like Jim who didn't pay his taxes, and he's gonna beat the crap out of him. He's in a briefcase, and it's like a breakaway suit that just comes off in one piece.
if he wins this fight, he'll be considered innocent of tax evasion.
And then there'd be the obvious infidelity fight, or like the passion of love. There'd be the women fight of like you hit on my man. This would be immediately go to Maury Povich, and he would have the rights to
Yeah,
it,
I feel like
10
I feel like they already had this
that's
show.
true. This is it. It's
You're not the father. Beat him up.
ding ding. Also back to the accountant,
But
boxer.
the accountant has to say before he fights, it's time to crunch the numbers.
And I'd like to think that he'd open up a briefcase and he'd always keep his boxing gloves in the briefcase.
Yeah.
And he'd very respectfully open it up and put them on right before the bell rings. Takes out a calculator. That's his weapon of choice.
Yeah, everyone gets one weapon, one special ability. How come they don't have that in fighting matches? Where are their like special
Pretty sure
abilities?
it's called Celebrity Deathmatch,
Yeah.
and it's in claymation.
They raise up enough XP, enough power points to where they can access their super move. Where's the smash ball that floats in the air they can knock out?
I think we got a good idea for a
Accountant
show.
used the same thing he can use to arrest Al Capone.
You know, this show would come out on TNT too. It wouldn't be on like Fox.
TMZ would be all
TMZ.
over it. So what's the scoop, guys? Well, apparently
We got a video of what was it walking out of a.
James Franco walking out of a Denny's.
I got one question for you guys. Who has a picture of James Franco walking out of a Denny's?
It's so funny too, because after I watched that and then I watched TMZ, I feel like maybe I didn't pay attention to TMZ long enough.
Yeah.
But when I watched it now, I'm like, I feel like they almost saw that movie and were like, yeah, let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
Because literally he's got the big drink. He's always
always.
got a polo on and he's like, all right, guys, so what's the news? And I'm like, what?
That's by far the best part of that movie.
Well, I feel like that's how the WWE started, was like, hey, how about we do MMA fighting? But instead of them getting like so like hurt that they get concussions, we'll just replace that with like backstories of like he cheated on his wife and this guy did this, and it's just like this. It's like soap opera, but it's mixed with muscles and fighting.
South Park adding that in was the most eye-opening thing I've ever been a part of. Because I grew up every day home from school. My mom had General Hospital on, the soap opera.
Yeah.
And so I'd pick up things in here. I'd even sit down and watch. Good show, you get sucked in. No
Yeah.
wonder it's been on since the 70s.
Yeah.
It's the worst writing ever. But and then at the same time you're growing up, I'm super into wrestling. And when South Park told me that they're the same thing, and I was like, whoa. I tried watching it again like a year ago, and I was like, this is hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
there's no fighting at all.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of, and you think that she loves you more. It's my dead brother. We thought Kane was buried alive in the last WrestleMania, and then he's alive again. That's happened to Sonny Corinthos, Jason from General Hospital. Except it was a tables, ladders, chairs match in General Hospital.
Instead of saving someone's life, they had to reach to get the big bag of money at the time.
What is it? Money in the bag match?
Yeah. Well, it's hilarious though, because when I was a kid, actually, I didn't watch a lot of wrestling. I loved to play the video games,
Yeah.
which I feel like everyone liked to play video games. But because I remember my cousins, oh, yeah, we're gonna watch it. They would convince my grandma to like buy the pay-per-view,
Yeah.
and that's what it was. It was just them talking about like, you guys are gonna get it. And I'm like, when are they gonna fight? When are they gonna do the cool intro?
Yeah.
Or then there's always like a wrestler would come in and everyone gets super excited.
Yeah.
And he just pick a mic and be like, we're not fighting today, and dropped
You're
it.
like, no.
And I was like, that's what we're here for. And it's this whole like play. There's all these stories, and I'm not following up with the juicy gossip.
Right.
Like, I just want to know how many people can be put in scary masks and fight each other. Like, if you don't have a mask and your name isn't Stone Cold Steve Austin or The
Right.
Rock, get out of there.
What I always thought was funny, I feel like this will be like a niche joke. Like if you didn't watch it, you wouldn't get it. Like when you watch, let's just say SmackDown.
Yeah.
Or Raw, whatever. It's on Monday night.
I'm a SmackDown man for life.
Right.
But continue.
It's random who's wrestling, right? It doesn't say next week it's supposed to be live and it's random for
Yeah.
the most part when it's not like WrestleMania. WrestleMania, you know, whatever. I'd always be surprised when I'd see like there's always everyone in the crowd with their signs, and then I'd see who they have the signs for, and they'd always be like for like someone who like ended up showing up unexpectedly. Like, how do you know? Like, is there like a meeting? I don't get about. I'm halfway through talking about this. I go, this is not funny at all. But like, I go, how do you know Kurt Angle was wrestling tonight? He just made a sign and hoped. Like, Kurt Angle, my favorite. Read the sign, your name. I made a picture of you using tinfoil.
Maybe they look out and they're like, okay, how many signs we got? We got 16 for Kurt Angle. Okay, so Kurt Angle's got to go up at least third. We got 20 signs.
Right. What if it's like supply and demand?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's supply and demand. Who are the people here for? And they fill in that need. There's always like they got to fight for like the new championship title belt.
Yep.
Every episode.
Yep.
There's always that like, oh, and next week it's going to be the next battle. And I'm like, how many belts are they giving out? Like the more belts they give out, supply and demand, the less value they start to have.
I wonder because there's so many. There's the World's Championship, clearly the best. Then there's always the tag team belt. You got the Intercontinental belt. I don't know what that means still.
Be honest, my favorite, I always liked tag team.
Tag team.
Tag team was always my favorite.
Yeah.
You get the two, because then you got 4 people beating each other up.
More fun. It's close to a Royal Rumble, but not quite the commitment of a Royal Rumble. There's one person listening to this just like, yes,
He's speaking my language.
tag team, not quite Royal Rumble. I've been thinking about this all week.
I'm so glad I listened to these guys in the commute.
Oh my god. Okay. Coffee's kicking in. That's good.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to get some good ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, fights and
So I mean, and I feel like every time there's like a UFC fight, I have nothing for this, but it's always like 2 seconds long. It's always like, yeah, how'd you think this would go? Like one person gets a good shot and they're trained to hurt you as much as possible with a punch, and the fight ends in 1 round.
the only reason why I know Ronda Rousey is because she's spent a bunch of interviews talking about Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon.
Really?
That's all I know. Yeah, she talks about how Vegeta's her favorite character,
Yeah.
as obvious.
Her.
And she was going through some like Pokemon stuff. She's like, yeah, I do all this stuff. And then that went into where I go on the internet and they're like, Ronda Rousey, she is our goddess. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So, but then she fought some stuff and I think she lost and she's
Yeah.
on a cover of a video game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the same thing as like everyone was like, because she lost after there was a bunch of hype about her, and then she lost, and everyone's like, oh, she sucks. To be like, yeah, she got into a fight. There was a chance she was gonna lose. Yeah, that happened, man.
Well, I think too. Here's something I think about is I kind of feel bad for fighters, because think about it, the better they get, the more drunk assholes want to fight them. Like the more people are like,
Oh, you can't
a
go to a
tough guy.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't go to a bar. You can't like everyone's like, oh, so you think you're tough because you won the world championship?
Because you're the best in the world. You think that makes you tough?
Yeah, you think you could beat anybody up now? And it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
you know. But then you got the Muhammad Ali's, like his hands are weapons or whatever.
Apparently, that's a real thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Like you have to register your hands as weapons. It's if you get to a certain point, that's a real thing.
it makes sense to me.
That's probably the coolest thing I can think of. Like I don't want.
I would have to register my hands for like popcorn. Like,
All you colonels better watch out.
how do you get to that point where like you're such a like? Is it because you're a famous fighter, or like what if you're really skilled? You're always just
think you're just
hanging out in the
really
JoJo,
skilled.
and then someone's just like, hey, listen, you're at that level now where
We're gonna have
you
to
gotta
register those
you got to
things.
fill out some paperwork.
Yeah,
Because-
HR has to get involved in the whole hand business. Well, I mean, I feel like it's got to be like if you're trained. If you're trained and they go, all right, you did it, level 6.
Yeah.
All right,
Like-
if you want to sign these W-2s, you'll get a tax evasion in the March.
Like I was a brown belt with 3 black stripes when I was a kid. Like they didn't say, okay, Vince, your feet are weapons of mass destruction.
Or they even didn't even give you like something to look forward to because I got up to the second belt, orange. Pretty sure that was just default. It's like
I think orange was, it was second or third.
because I had white and orange, so I might have lost the third one if there was one.
Where'd you go to karate?
I don't remember. I was 5.
Oh, okay.
Where'd you go to karate? His name was Sensei.
Sensei Pie.
Pie. Cherry pie. So, oh god, can we stop talking about fighting? I know nothing about any of this. How about best man speeches?
Best man speeches.
I saw a good one.
You did?
The one at your wedding was good. But
you.
I saw one the other like last week. I went to one and I was like, here we go. This one's gonna suck, and it was good.
It was
and
good.
I try to keep notes of what like not keep notes not like I'm doing one, but like of like what is involved of like what made a good best man. Clearly, you gotta be. I had one at the wedding I went to. A girl, she started to talk, and then she did the I'm throwing out the speech move, and then she just couldn't start, and then she never did it.
Yeah.
She just kept like crying, like because she was happy crying.
Yeah,
and then just didn't. I was like, I want to hear the speech. I feel like I got gypped, chicken dry. Can't hear the speech.
Yeah. Well, I start thinking of it in terms of like us, like when we do stand up, and when you look at public speakers and all these things, like you start to kind of see that there is a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
In terms of how do they make it work? Whether they're supposed to make you laugh, whether they're supposed to make you informed, or they're supposed to motivate you. There's something that they all have in common.
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the big things is this idea that what they're saying, even if it's a written out speech, they give you the feeling that they are communicating it to you and they're not just reading something
Right.
that they put together.
People want to see a connection for specifically this. I think,
Yes.
honestly, and I could just be people, Richie, you don't know. I feel like writing a best man speech is pretty easy.
Yeah.
You're a best man. You got all the inside jokes. The pins are set up. You got a bunch of relatives. You got the best crowd ever.
Yeah.
I did a speech for my grandpa's funeral. My mom goes, I want you to do a speech. We're doing it not at the funeral, but at the after thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be at Lesage.
Nice.
Hilarious. And we want you to do a speech. I'm not saying it was easy, but like talk about the best crowd ever. Everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. Every joke killed. Seriously, I told a couple jokes relating it to that, and all of them destroyed. And so I just feel like you're doing that. You got to connection.
Mm-hmm.
They want to tear up and be like, "I love you, man." You got to say, "I love you, man."
Yeah.
In some form, you got to tell a funny story that brings everyone in.
Yeah.
And you got to say, the first time I met Karen, I knew it was the one for Steve. If you don't say that, it's not a best man speech.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah. I mean, there are ways that you can mess it up. Like, you can't be like, I always thought the bride was hot. Like, you can't like do anything weird like that.
People are very easily mess it up.
Yeah. What? Well, it's just it's because we've talked about this before, and it's just this idea that when like there's a lot of people who think that they're funny. Mm-hmm. And then there are people who actually like try and do stand-up comedy. And the people who think that they're funny but don't want to do stand-up comedy is because they're in this idea of, oh, I'm funny because like they know the area.
Right.
Greg is always late, so he can always do a Greg is always late joke.
Yeah.
Whereas stand-up comedy, you have to go up and you may not know anyone in the audience, and you're assuming that you don't know anyone else, and you just have to just start talking and just hope that it's funny.
Right.
With the best man speech
Set the
and all
pins
this
up.
Yeah, the pins are set up. People know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They can already feel some sort of related to it. So it's not as difficult. And my thing is my big thing is that when they say, okay, we're going to do a speech, and they pull out their phones or they pull out just a giant piece of paper and their eyes don't leave that phone or paper. They're just holding it up there.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting in there reading it.
Yeah.
It automatically feels a complete disconnect. I mean, imagine your favorite motivational speaker, president, anybody.
Yeah.
And all he did was just hold up a paper and just read it. Now there's people who they have it on the podium. They look down, they look up, they
got
read.
notes.
They're acknowledging, hey, This is this. Yes, it's written. It's a long speech. He put a lot of thought into it.
Yep.
But even when they read it, it sounds more of a conversation or a monologue versus the last time I saw Frank.
Motivational speaker is a good example of that, because the point of it is to motivate you.
Yeah.
And so the point behind it has to be passion.
Yeah.
And if you're reading off it, then the passion goes away. Oh, you don't really think this? It's just written?
Yeah.
Same thing with, you don't really feel, notes are important.
Yeah.
But if you don't really feel it, you just wrote it down and you're just reading it.
Yes. It starts to create, and that's the part where it's a disconnect, where it's like you're supposed to kind of tell how you really feel. And I've said this before, but I would rather have somebody not have anything written down and just kind of keep it just kind of shorter in speech, but really talk about how they really able to talk about how they feel, versus someone who has this well-written, great content, speech, and it just sounds like they're reading it because you already don't believe it. Like, it's not everyone is meant to be a great speaker and all that stuff. But there are ways that you can do it to where you can show how you actually feel. Like, I think you want to show how you actually feel.
That's all people want to see too.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to the best man speech, they're not expecting as much. They're not expecting as much because they know you're a best man, and guys don't show emotion. Right. So you just got to keep it like you said. You got to mention that, I always knew that she'd be the bride.
Yeah.
I love you, man. You're great. That's all the amount of emotion you need to get. I love you, man. You're great.
Yeah.
And then let's give a toast. Like, you're not expecting too much. But so when you have the maid of honor and she's got this huge script, everyone's like, everyone just deflates because they're just like, oh man, here we go. And she's reading it. From the first time I saw Sally.
There's always crying.
This. You almost need the crying.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd feel no connection. Like, you almost want the crying. I've seen, in terms of father of the bride speeches, I've seen two that were really, really good. One was biased, but it was at my wedding where my father-in-law went up and he did the speech, and it felt like it felt like he didn't just pull up a piece of paper and read it. He was actually talking to people, and he's like, "Nah, you guys know this, and this."
Yeah.
He did pull up a quote. That's what I think is acceptable. You pull up, I'm going to say a quote, and you pull out a piece of paper or a thing, and you say the quote. I think that's
perfect.
That makes sense, because you're not feeling disconnected. You feel like, oh, he's doing a direct quote. That makes sense. You don't have to do it, but you want to make sure you get the quote right. And then I went to another one where the father of the bride had a piece of paper, and he goes, and he did the thing, I was going to read this, but I'm going to forget it. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
But he just cried the whole time.
Oh, God.
And he was just like, you're just so beautiful, and I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
And everyone was just bawling.
Yeah.
Just saying,
they want to know, they want the feeling.
Yes, they got straight to the feeling.
Yeah.
And it would have been even better if he didn't even take out the paper.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he got into his feelings, and that's tough.
Yeah.
You're a grown man and you're crying in front of everybody, but that shows that it's even more powerful.
Yeah.
Than if,
That's what people want at a wedding.
That's what people want at a wedding. So you either cry.
You got to cry.
You got to cry. You got to get in. Just like I said, if it's short and not even crying, but just tell how you really feel, or you have it well rehearsed, but you just can't have that paper there.
You can have it there, but it can't be read. You can't, block your face off.
You can't block your face off. It's got to be on the ground, and you're only reading it just for a couple spark notes. You're looking at the audience. You're looking at the bride and groom.
Yeah.
Like the thing is too is some people might think, well, Vince, you're being way too hard. Like you like to do stand up comedy, you like to do all this stuff. Okay. This is part of the job of being a best man.
That's true.
And a maid of honor. Like, this is what you signed up for. Like, you signed up to host or help out with the bachelor party. And you said, I'm going to be there next to you when you get married. And then you give the speech. That's your three things.
Yeah.
Like,
so nail it.
Just nail it. Like, and usually for most people, you get a year to a year and a half in advance. We do stand up 2 weeks in advance. Okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do and do all this stuff. But it's like, you got a year and a half. You can practice in front of a mirror. You can practice
get notes from your friends, family, people who've done it, bad, good.
Yeah. You can just, hey, what are some tips? You can do a simple Google search, how to give a good speech, and they'll tell you the same thing. Back. Like, it doesn't take that much. Imagine what the bride and groom have to do to prepare for this day.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do a fraction of that. Just get the speech done. It doesn't have to be a whole novel of craziness. It just has to be enough to show, oh, he actually cares, and that's why he's here.
Put some time into
That's
it.
why he was the best man, because he cares.
Right. My favorite move for the bride maid of honor speech, and I've seen it, I think every time almost, is she's on the verge of crying, and then she puts her hand up and she goes, "I can't even look at you." And I always thought, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing though. I go, now this is a wedding.
Yes.
I can't even look at you. Like, this is easy for you to cry, man.
Yeah. Like, just the fact that I'm seeing you smiling on your wedding day
is enough to crack me as a human.
my physical egg is just
My ego has dissolved, and I am you.
we
now.
are one.
We and you are one.
In a way.
Can't look at you, literally.
In a way, we are married.
It just gets weird real quick. In a
Everyone's
way,
like, what?
I'm marrying your husband. What? The MC is just like,
Start cranking up the music. Da-da-da-da.
What song?
I feel like
it's Sandstorm. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
what if they did it like for like whenever they do like speeches for an award and it goes too long, they start cranking up music. What if they did that?
Yeah.
It's like as they start getting bad, just start cranking up.
Be like, oh, that's my cue, guys. I gotta go Sandstorm. Darude would make a
Or like
whole
stand
lot
up
of money.
comedy, they just like flash the red light at
Yeah.
you. You got 1 minute left. People are starving. The food's getting cold. Finish it up.
Yeah.
End it with a toast.
Oh, that'd be great.
One
You
thing-
got to get the red light for weddings.
You
Be
really
like,
do.
Come on.
When you see that red light, you got 1 minute. But what else? One thing I always think that's kind of funny is every like the bride and groom speech. I'm sorry, the best man speech, the maid of honor speech, and the father of the bride speech always end with a toast.
Yep.
And I always find it funny because like the first time we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna end with a toast. That's nice. But after like the second or third time, I'm like, now you're just copying.
Right.
Like if anything,
You stole that joke.
yeah, like you took that ending of like we're gonna toast. All right, 5 seconds later after the next speech is done, okay, guys, we're gonna get a toast.
Let's get another toast for it. Be like, we did this.
Yeah, we just did it.
Deja vu.
One thing I think that's funny about weddings is always the tradition of like everyone bangs on the glass
Yeah.
and they make out.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
No, because here's what happens is you go din, 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 and then you go, oh, I walk into the reception and then I hear it. Big
Yeah.
bang glass. I go, oh, forgot. I know. Because then what happens is Aunt Lisa gets too much to drink and she's banging the glass until the cows come home. Aunt Lisa, stop it. There's kids here. You'd be like, keep kissing.
Another thing with the wedding thing that's kind of funny is like, here's my thing. So you were at my wedding and you knew it took 5 days. It was a good 3 to 4 hour.
What?
The ceremony. The ceremony.
That was forever.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Long time.
Some of it wasn't even in English.
No.
It was great. And it's weird because then now I go to other people's weddings.
Yeah.
And if it's like 15 minutes, to me it just feels like you guys are still dating. Like
Yeah.
I'm like you're not putting in the time.
Listen, I'll-
we're celebrating for 6 hours. It's got to at least be a 2-hour event.
That just sounds awful.
Like,
I'm gonna give a hard pass. Disagree on that.
no, and it's okay to disagree. But sometimes I sit there and just like I'm like wait a minute. So we got already. You did a whole year's worth of planning, all this stuff, for 15 minutes of just we walked up. They walked up and said, "Hey,
Released
You guys-
a fence full of doves.
yeah." And then they're like, "Yep, you like each other? Yep, okay, you're done." And I'm sitting there, almost like, "We drove this far."
I even think they're more in love.
They're probably
The
more.
shorter it is, every minute longer it goes, the less you. I'm just kidding.
This is good. We have a debate every time. Well, like, and it's funny too because you go through like when I was going through it, every couple's just like, why don't we just elope? Why don't we just elope?
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be so much easier, blah, blah. But then after you go through it and then you hear someone's like, yeah, for our marriage, we just eloped. I always think, wow, you couldn't get through the first problem of marriage. Like, you couldn't figure out the first thing.
Right. You can't just
dealing with Aunt Linda's requests.
You can't not take the final.
Yeah.
And then you pass the class.
It works. I don't need to take the AP credits.
Because I feel like if you could get through planning a wedding, you did it.
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, you didn't do it, but that's a
you got a good
hump.
you got a good start.
Yeah.
Because because now you're starting to get to know their family. That was a big thing for
Yeah.
me, was you start kind of realizing like, oh, I'm getting married to this person, but I'm also going to be a part of this family's life. So then you start kind of being more ingrained, hopefully, to get to know them, and you start to
While
kind of learn a
under
little
high
bit more of
level
them.
stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make sure that Linda doesn't sit with Brenda and that Shireen has to be next to Brenda, but she also really likes Linda. So you're just like, how do we make this work?
And I can help no one.
Why is it always the women? Always causing the problems.
It sounds like yeah. You make it through that. You did it.
Yeah. You know, well, it's weird too, because like I always kind of thought like, oh, it's it's the bride's day, so then she does everything, and then you find out that not always. It's not always that luxury of the guys like, just tell me where I gotta be. Like that's not always the luxury, which kind of makes sense because it's a lot of planning. You should at least be like, well, hey, how about we pick the cheaper option?
Right. Here's my
about-
opinion. Cheaper.
cheaper. Just if unless your parents are paying for it, cheaper.
How much of a stereotypical husband to be response is that? Honey, do you like the gold spoons or the platinum spoons? Which one's cheaper? And then he high fives the nearest guy. Am I right? And that's the whole thing.
We don't value this.
Wedding never happens. Bada boy.
Bada bing. No, it's just women. They're so expensive. As my wife's in the other room. As you remember, we went to a bachelor party. Mm-hmm. Had a great time. It was
a good time.
It was great, but it's very interesting how people perceive bachelor parties, how they perceive bachelorette parties, and how they are two totally different expectations. Like it may be just maybe my group of friends, it may be a bunch of other factors, but every time you think of like bachelor party, thinking, oh my gosh, nothing but strippers and glitter and just anything evil, because now he's not gonna be a single man anymore.
Right.
And it turns out it's just like, yeah, we're going to the lake and we're gonna have a beer. And we may say a couple swear words here or there. We'll see how it goes.
Swear a little more than I can in the house, you know.
Yeah. And then like the bachelorette party is like, oh, it's a fun day. They put on a dress, they go out to eat. And then you find out it's just like anything that they can turn into a penis is a penis.
Yeah. Which I always thought was hilarious. Like, why is that? I feel like it's supposed to be like it's a guy's weekend is like a guy's weekend. Like what I've noticed from the couple of bachelor parties I've gone to is it's you swear a lot more, which I thought was funny. You said that, but I remember thinking, I was like, feel more free. I don't know why I'm swearing more. I feel good.
You don't have to worry about your vocab.
No, at all.
Yeah.
And then you just add in extra ones. It's just fillers. It makes the sentence spicy.
Yeah.
No. And then you're also drinking more, and then everything else after that is details. It's apparently manly things. Maybe you'll eat more meat. For the women, and so it's as manly as it gets, quote unquote.
Yeah.
For the women's one, there's always related around the penis, which I thought was funny because it's like, shouldn't it be like exclusively like what you would think it would contour be like exclusively girly things?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't.
They're the most lady-like things because once they have a man, then they got to deal with like the man never picks up his socks.
There's loose hair everywhere.
And there's loose hair everywhere. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. But that's the thing. And then it's just like everything's just like, here's a cake. It's the shape of a penis. And here's a game where we throw a penis at another penis and try to knock over the other penises. How many times can I say penis? The male genitalia. It's just everything is male genitalia themed. And then they also go bar hopping.
Yeah.
But it's just, and I'm just like, and it's funny because it's supposed to be all,
There's
the
a
girls
sash always involved.
There's always a sash because you got to know who's responsible for a bachelor party. You don't know who the guy is. You just assume,
it's the one that's asleep.
It's the one. It's the one that's like, guys, I'm kind of used to being home at 11 by now.
The one that's the most tired.
I feel like it's the guy. You can tell because the guys that are more excited are the ones that aren't having the bachelor party because, like, great, a party and it's not surrounded by me. Like I can go do whatever I want.
Yeah. No, I feel like the most excited, is that, but specifically the one who's already married.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh my God, I'm out of the house. And he's just like,
We need this. And it's like,
we're doing crime tonight.
and everyone's just there was like, dude, how bad has it been?
It's like, oh, marriage is great.
It's great.
That's great. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's kill somebody tonight.
Let's murder people. And if we happen to call it Shireen, yeah. It is what it is. But yeah, it's weird. And it's then you get into the whole thing like, what? So you're saying like women shouldn't be as disgusting as men? Clearly no.
Yeah.
Because you turn it into these weird games and it's just like it's just ridiculous. Whereas the guys was like, yeah, we have beers and we might pee in the woods. Ah!
There's a lot of just dirt.
Yeah.
I've never came back from a bachelor party and went, man, I had a good shower over the weekend.
And like I said, like maybe we're way off the cuff, but it's so funny how it's always dreamed as, they end up. You never see any strippers. I'm not really looking for them. I'm saying I'm not seeing them.
Yeah, it's
like
a
in the
stereotype
movies,
that
the
rarely
stereotypes.
happens.
Yeah. And it's funny too because then you see like I said, the women. There's so much male genitalia around it, and then you go to the men's bachelor parties. You're not seeing like a female. Like you're not seeing a vagina velvet cake anytime soon.
There's not like posters put up, be like, he's coming, quick, get the Pam Anderson up on the door.
Yeah.
You got a ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, but it's just boobs.
Because like for me, for my bachelor party, I wasn't excited for it. I was like, I don't want this because I didn't understand the concept. Like, oh, now you're no longer gonna be single. It's like, oh, so what happened to like the 7 years I was dating a person? I was free to just do whatever I want.
Right. Tonight, you go from being a crappy boyfriend to a good husband, so live it up.
Yeah. So it's like, I just didn't understand that. But then once I had the bachelor party, I realized this is actually the last time all of the guys get to come together and have fun, unless there's another bachelor party. But it's like, this is the last time I get to be one of like the guys, like just hanging out with guys going, why are girls dumb? I don't know. Let's play video games and drink beer and play games. Like that's what I realized the bachelor party was for. It's the last time everyone gets together and just the guys hanging out.
Well, with that attitude, it is.
Yeah. Because then once you get married and, life kind of starts filling on, it's like a treat that you can go and like, spend some time with their guys. Whereas when you were just dating, hey, I'm going to go hang out with Mike's. Okay, I'm going to go hang out at Shireen's. We're in two separate friend groups. Right. And then you just kind of do your thing. Whereas like once you're married, it's like, okay, then I don't even want to know what it's like to have kids because that's a whole new schedule of, Kevin needs braces on Saturday. So no doing nothing on Saturday.
Yeah.
We're going to travel to Nancy's soccer game where she's not going to try because she's tired.
I just want to load a gun right now.